Now into episode 16 through 18. And warning you, episode 18 I might go on a rant about because for some reason it really pissed me off this time around. On to episode 16. This episode is dealing with this frog-like wesen who, when she gets touched by other people, it has like this poison effect on them that kills them. And so she doesn't want to get touched by other people because of that. Basically how it works is when you find the person attractive, it causes them to vogue. It's a pretty interesting storyline and really dark. I think that's one of the reasons why my rant with episode 18 is going to be so big, is because this episode is dealing with a case of rape, and in episode 18 is dealing with a case of 3 racist guys murdering a Native American man. Just these 3 episodes are just filled with very tough stuff. Anyways, episode 16. So she's a part of this biker gang, and this one guy comes up to her, and he's actually generally a kind guy, and he's trying to talk to her, and she's just like, leave me alone and all. And then he gets killed because he finds her attractive, he touches her, she vogues, kills him. On accident, she doesn't want to do this. But the question I have, first of all, is until they figure out that's the reason why, their whole thing is just, oh yeah, she's just very shy and all. And I'm like, if you don't want to hang out with people, why join a bike club? Like, I'm saying this as an introvert. I have to force myself sometimes to hang out with people. I want to join a bike club. Like, I feel like maybe, I said I would be willing to join a hiking club, something like that. But maybe I would be. I'm not antisocial, but if you're that big on not talking to people, why join a club like that instead of just going on bike rides by yourself? Like, just saying. The next thing about this is that her grandmother's solution to this, because, both her mother and her grandmother both got raped, and that's because, these women, they're supposed to be very attractive and all. They are actually attractive people, but that's beside the point. The point is, they're supposed to be unresistible to men, and so men want to be with them really badly, and that's what makes it even worse, because they can't. And then these men want to, and they cause this harm upon these men, but, there are bad men who come after them, and thus this terrible stuff happens. The grandmother's solution to this is, we'll just damage your face. We'll scar it up, and so thus men won't want to be with you. And my thing about that, I'm like, hold on. I'm trying my best not to come off like one of those, like, I'm so different because I think this, but I can't help but there's some stuff like scars and even missing limbs sometimes can be very attractive, in my opinion. So when they're like, oh yeah, we'll just scar up your face and it'll be fine. I'm like, really? Like, if you're an attractive person, that's the big thing, right? I'm not saying scars themselves are attractive, but I'm saying scars when you're a naturally attractive person can make you be more attractive, in my opinion. A scarred up face can actually look very attractive when you can tell, like, okay, yeah, you're a naturally attractive person without the scar, and then the scarring just brings out more of like the uniqueness of you. And again, not trying my best not to go on this whole I'm so great because I think this route, but I'm just saying, like, they came up with that solution. The first thing I thought of was this. That may work somewhat with those type of guys, but also, again, I don't really want to talk about that topic too much, but I just want to mention something quickly about the fact that something I've figured out the last couple years, just from hearing about stories of victims and all, is when it comes to stuff like rape, attractiveness is not actually the biggest key sometimes. And that's what I'm going to leave at, because there are some topics I don't like getting into because I don't know what to do about it. Anyways, but the point is, when the moment they mentioned the whole scarring thing, I'm like, okay, honestly, that wouldn't work on those type of people. And it wouldn't actually work on all good people too, because there are people who are not shallow and actually see the beauty in the uniqueness of a person. And so a scarred face, but especially with guys, what I've heard from women is, at least the stereotype women like this mentioned is the whole thing of, the chiseled, scarred man. Like, even people are obsessed with the Phantom for some reason. So scarred faces are not always the worst way to go. I don't know. This is a really uncomfortable topic to try to talk about. But yeah, overall, rape bad. Seeing the beauty in someone for not being perfect, as some people like to call it, or having imperfections is a good thing. Leave it at that. Also in this episode, you see Sean meet up with his cousin, who's, taking over his investigation on trying to find Diana, Adeline's kid, and he's known for getting done what needs to get done, no matter the cost. And, you get to see Sean meet up with him, and the person who has been a double agent, who's been working for both the Royals and for the captain, gets killed in front of the captain, and he's like, okay, we're really dealing with something now. You also, in this episode, see Nick he's like, this whole thing with Juliet has not been working out. He's like, he sees all these pictures of Juliet in the house, and he's turning them down. He's just like, again, Nick is not handling this whole thing correct, too. It's not just Juliet. Juliet is a problem throughout the season. But Nick, I get where he's coming from, but Nick is a problem, too. Just saying. Anyways, so yeah, you also have it so Juliet seduces and sleeps with the captain, which shows more of, how Juliet is growing in her power as a Hexen Beast. And the episode ends with Sean bullet holes start bleeding again, and then he has this vision of like this the heavens, and then these demon hands jumping out at him, and we'll see where that goes. On to the next episode. So the next episode is dealing with these snake-like wesens who can't survive out in the cold. The questions I really have about this episode is, one big question is, okay, so they mentioned like, oh yeah, in the colder months, they have to hibernate because they can't stay warm. Only human body heat works. But in the summer, they're fine. And like the sun doesn't really help them. But I'm like, hold on, if in the summer they're fine, what's going on in the summer that caused that? Like, because even if it's warm outside in the winter and they have the sun, it's not going to help them, but in the summer it does help them. Like, they should have just said, the sun doesn't help, the temperature helps, but not that's what they should have done, but they didn't do that. And so instead it's like, okay, so why don't they need to use human body heat in the summer too? Like, you also see in this episode Juliet doing some of her first active violence as a Hexen Beast that's more than just defending herself or something. She actually starts trying to kill Adeline. Adeline eventually tells the Royals this, and Kenneth, instead of being like, oh, we should deal with her, instead he's like, she's very close to Nick. We could use that. And so he actually wants Juliet on their side. And we'll see more of that later. Meanwhile, you have it so Nick is investigating this murder that happens because of this reptile wesen that kills this woman by stealing all her warmth and turned into an icicle. You realize that there's actually 3 of them, and they're all traveling to some form of hibernation event. The question I have is, you have one of them find their way to the city. The other ones they all were driving together in the country. So how did one of them make it all the way to the city only to then get into a taxi? Like, how did he make it into the city? Like, he should have been nearer to his brothers. I also like it how when they finally figure out where this event is going on, you see as they're pulling up, you think it's just this one guy, maybe a couple other people, but you see in the background all the cars that are there. So it's hinting at what happens when we figure out that there's like 20 of them there. And so, they wake them all up and they all start chasing them, but very quickly, because they're so cold, they just start falling asleep and dying off. And so they have to get them on a pyre again. They have to take just the one guy who freezes to death, and so they just like, okay, well, he disappeared, and that's kind of how they leave it. And so we leave the episode with Juliet revealing to the rest of the group that she's a Hexen Beast now, and Juliet gets into a bar fight and gets put in prison. This last episode, as I said before, is dealing with a Native American myth of the Meshi Peshu. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but it's this water spirit that basically in this episode it possessed this one boy, and through this he's revenging his father's death. The CGI with this monster is pretty good. You also I love the yellow eyes you see when he's about to be possessed. It's pretty fun. The big thing about this episode is can you please just allow him to finish his mission? There are some times where I'm on the villain's side. In this case, technically he's not as much the villain, but the fact that the people he's going after are these racist men who killed his father years ago. Because of his trauma, he can barely remember it. But in the back of his mind, he remembers the faces. And so when he gets possessed by the Meshi Peshu, causes him to have these memories come up a little bit more. And with the power of this creature, he goes and he starts killing them. But it's the first 2 gets killed, and then the last one, he actually does get killed in the end. When they went to try to stop him, in the back of my head, I was just, maybe it's also because of episode 16, but I was in a defend the innocent, mood right at that moment. And so I was just this guy is a racist. This guy deserves to be killed. Kill him. Just allow him to die. I was just super pissed at that moment. Again, I'm not that much of a protester type person. I don't do stuff like that. But for some reason in that moment, I was super big on kill the racist. Kill him. Just kill him. Just allow him to die. I know you're cops and you should stop it. But in the same way, could you guys just leave this one alone and just allow him to be killed? Like, please? Like, anyways, but for some reason, I was just really while watching this episode, just like, just let him die, just let him die, just let him die. Like, this guy did not even repent. He didn't care. He was fully on board with, like, yeah, I don't care. I did it and I got away with it. And so the end of the episode, where, like, they now know that he was guilty and they can't convict him off of that now. And in the end, one of the sheriffs gets possessed and she goes and kills him. And so he doesn't get away with it. So in the end, I guess I didn't go on as much of a rant as I thought I was going to go on. But hey, it's been a couple weeks since I watched the episode. But when I was watching it, I was just like stringing that guy by his neck. I was just pissed for some reason. Might have been because of the episode before that. But a week later, I watched a couple episodes of Grey's Anatomy, was dealing with rape and stuff like that. And it just caused me to become even more like frustrated at those type of events. I was pissed off at this episode when I'm watching it, more pissed off for that one character, which you should be, and I thought that was somewhat interesting, but okay, why am I so upset about this stuff? I'm like, I was just pissed off while watching it. But in the end, I didn't go on much of a rant as I thought I was going to go on. Overall, these episodes are pretty fun. There's some very interesting topics in these that just got my blood boiling, but in a good way. So in the end, yeah, enjoyed it. If you guys want to see when I put on my review for the next couple of episodes, consider subscribing. This has been the Movie Net Reviewer, Peter Wary, signing off.